Welcome back to Creating Awareness. I am Melinda and I am a survivor. So, this week we are going to be talking about fight or flight. Are you in fight or flight mode with your partner in your romantic relationship? Does your partner have you walking on eggshells in this relationship? Do you feel helpless, uncertain, or scared because you don't know what insignificant or substantial event is going to trigger your partner into lashing out at you for their emotional target practice? Do you feel like you are in a chaotic, romantic, action packed thriller with this person, starring your toxic partner who leaves you feeling overwhelmed, unheard, unseen, and emotionally exhausted? This week, we're going to do Ephesians. I'm going to read from KJV, Ephesians verses 6 chapter 6, verses 12 and 13, and then I'm going to skim through 17. I really want you guys to go out and read it and research it for yourselves. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. 13. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. God will give you the breastplate of righteousness, guarding our heart and soul against evil, the shoes of peace, providing us with stability and direction, the shield of faith, the shield of faith, protecting us from fear, doubt, and spiritual attacks. The helmet of salvation, guarding our minds and giving us assurance of God's salvation. The sword of the Spirit, our gateway to communicating with God, to building a relationship with Him. When we are in fight or flight mode in a relationship, it is because our toxic partner is being unpredictable mentally and emotionally. They're hot and they're cold, mostly cold toward us. When we become fearful, our brain natural response is to keep us safe. That is what fight and flight is. Fight or flight is our mind's safe way of telling us we feel threatened, attacked. This could be emotionally or physically, anxious due to our partner maybe yelling at us or trying to intimidate us into submission. So, what does fight or flight look like in an unhealthy relationship? It could be constantly starting arguments. Maybe our partner is constantly starting arguments with us. Maybe they started off slow, they were bi weekly, and then all of a sudden they start becoming more and more familiar that they're almost predictable. Like I can predict, oh, it's Tuesday, and I remember saying this to an ex. It's Tuesday. I guess we're going to argue today. So it could be them constantly picking an argument with you, and you don't even know what the argument is about. Maybe they had a bad day, maybe someone insulted them. It has absolutely nothing to do with us, but they're creating this argument for negative attention to make us uncomfortable and be and placate their emotions. But we notice, sorry guys, we notice this trend of them creating arguments with us or them storming off for no reason or blaming us for something that we have no idea what they're blaming us for. And then they want us to figure it out, understand why they're upset with us, but they're not being transparent. They're not giving us any details why they're upset with us. We just know it's our fault. We also might notice that they criticize us. They criticize us very frequently. They don't like the way we dress, or they don't like the way our hair looks. They don't like the attention that we're getting. They don't like us talking to other people. We notice that. I had a partner who I would say, "Oh, I really want a Porsche one day." "Oh, that's a status car. You don't want that. You just want status." And I'm like, "Well, I don't want status. It was just a dream of mine." I grew up watching people downtown when I would go to school, and all of these I would say probably wealthy persons had these Porsches, and I thought they were beautiful. And, I wanted one. I wanted this Porsche car. It was like my dream car. But every car that I noticed I liked, or that I would say to this person, "Oh, I really like this car. I really like that car," they would basically tear down that thought or dream of mine. They would tell me that you don't want that car, you don't want that, that's trash, that's trash. And then the upside, or the funny side I should say, is that I would hear another person say to this same partner that they really like that car, and they would say, "Oh yeah, that's a really good car, you should get that. Yeah, you can have that car one day." But when I wanted the car, it was trash. It was a problem. We might notice that they like to keep us unhinged. Unhinged is, you're having a really great day, and then all of a sudden, again, going back to that argument, they'll start an argument, or they'll find some way to take us out of our comfort zone and make us anxious and give us anxiety. So where we were having this wonderful day, now they are threatening our wonderful day by creating that argument, by starting that argument. I had a mate once. He would tell me how I felt. "Oh, I see you're in a bad mood." And I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm not in a bad mood. I'm feeling pretty good right now." "No, I can hear it. You're angry." I'm like, "No, I'm not angry." "Yes, you are. You're angry." "Okay, I'm not angry, but if you say I'm angry, then I'm angry." And they would continue to press that button. And then eventually they would provoke me into a reactive response where I would become angry. I would start yelling and fussing, trying to defend myself based off of all of their accusations, which would lead me into having anxiety. And this anxiety would make my heart bump a lot. I would get scared where I am. I would lose focus where I am, and they were just doing that for shits and giggles. And the reason I say shits and giggles, because once they got that response out of me, they would completely calm down, and then there would be no more aggravating me or agitating me into getting a negative response from me. You might notice that they will create a circumstance that only they can get you out of. Maybe they put you down, or they said something mean, and then they come in and they become your savior and try to mend it and make you feel better for something that they actually did or said that they created, but now they're coming in as your rescuer and your hero to make you feel better. Um, I recall a time when a coworker of mine said, "Oh, I noticed you put on some weight." And I was like, "Okay, thank you." Because I really didn't know how to receive it. And then I told my mate about it. And he was like, "Why are you listening to other people? You should only be listening to me and what I say about your weight, because you're going to think of what they said instead of what I said." But then you're the same person monitoring how I eat, what I should eat, what I should not eat. So you're also creating this issue for me, but it's wrong when someone else does it. It's okay if you do it. And as long as you can soothe it over with "I was just kidding, eat whatever you want, be comfortable in your skin, but you're putting on a lot of weight there. You might want to slow down." It's okay. We might also notice that there's a double standard when we're in this fight or flight mode. Everything they do, whether it's wrong or right, they make it right, they make it okay, just as long as we don't do it either. They'll make an issue about, let's say I tip someone $2. Well, why would you tip them $2 when I can tip them? That's not your place. That's not your job. I'm supposed to do the only tipping. And then you go out on another date and they say, "Well, I'll pay the bill, but I want you to tip." Okay, now you're confusing me, because do you want me to tip or do you not want me to tip? Another example of a double standard is, I recall with one mate, this person would always tell me I'm being masculine. "You're too masculine. You're too masculine. You don't ask for help. You're being too masculine. You don't allow me in." But then when I would respond, "Okay, I'll allow you in, but if I'm being masculine, does that mean you're being feminine? Who you calling a bitch? I didn't call you out of your name. I just asked you, if I'm being masculine, is that making you be more feminine?" It was a question. But because of the double standard, they took it as disrespectful for me to call them feminine, asking a question, although they were not asking me, they were telling me that I was being too masculine. And in that case, I wasn't even being masculine. I was actually setting boundaries and demanding respect from this person because I didn't like their verbiage toward me. We might also notice when we get into this fight or flight mode due to our toxic partner's behavior, that they might do erratic things. Like, let's say they get angry, or maybe they're not angry, they just come in and they start punching holes in a wall. Okay, why are you punching holes in a wall? What does that have to do? What is making you that upset? And are those holes that you're punching in the wall eventually going to be me, my body that you're punching holes in? Is it me that you're acting that out on? Or are you just trying to intimidate me and scare me? And I will say that if a person starts punching holes in a wall, they are going to eventually start physically assaulting you. And I know this from experience. We might notice also, um, with the fight or flight mode, when they try to keep us intimidated and in fear. You might notice, let's say you're driving along down the highway with this person, they're driving, your passenger, and you'll notice that, let's say someone cut them off. Now, the normal response would be when someone cuts us off to get a little upset, like, "I can't believe they cut me off." But unhealthy response would be to cut them off and keep cutting them off, because I've experienced this as well, where the person kept cutting them off every time they made a lane change. They would dart in front of them, almost as if they wanted them to hit us, which was very scary. And then that other driver slowed down a whole lot and almost got on the side of us. And I'm like, how do you know they don't have a weapon? Oh, they don't. No, you don't know that. We're not in their car. You're intentionally um agitating this person because they cut you off, and now you're putting both of our lives in danger. You might even notice that this person, you go somewhere and they're just always agitated or angry or aggressive. You go to, let's say, a fast food restaurant and they get the order wrong. Maybe they wanted a small cup of soda and the fast food place gave them a large cup of soda but charged them for a small, and they become belligerent. I asked for a small cup of drink. Why would you give me a large? Take this back. Where's your manager? Like, dude, you actually got to upgrade with that beverage, and you're spazzing out like they're like I can't even explain because I'm not belligerent like that. But you notice that they don't handle conflict well. And I think that's what it is. And that necessarily wasn't even conflict. They just didn't get their way. And because they didn't get their way, they threw a tantrum. They became aggressive. They became fearful. Uh, they created fear in us based off of their response to their situation and their environment. And those things keep us on eggshell, because if giving you an upgrade size cup of beverage when you order a small size was something enough to press your buttons to make you flip out on the cashier in the window, my God, what would you do to me? And these are questions that we want to ask ourselves when we see this type of behavior, because it's obviously unhealthy and a red flag, something that we don't want to overlook. Because by the time we overlook how they're treating these other people, then they've already come down hard on us. And now we can't overlook it because now we've become the target. So we definitely want to pay attention to if this person has destructive behavior. Are they acting irrational or radical over things that, if you really gave it some thought or logic or no thought at all, it was like okay, they cut you off. That happens every day. How many times do we get cut off by cars every day? We're not driving, we're not chasing them down and trying to interrogate them or argue with them because of, maybe they were in a hurry, maybe they had a family emergency, maybe they were just being unmindful, maybe they were just being rude. But it's how we react, and we don't have to react that way. So what are some ways that we can counteract, that we can handle? I don't want to say handle, because I really don't think anyone should handle being in a relationship where you feel like you're walking on eggshells. That's very, very unhealthy. But what are some things that we can do to keep us mindful and in the moment? So, one of the things we can do is stay present when we feel like our partner is attacking us for no reason at all, or having a violent, angry episode. I don't want to say violent, because if they're physically assaulting you, you want to definitely flight and call the police. Okay, you want to get as far away from that person and in a safe environment. But one thing we can do to stay in the present is do a body scan. So a body scan would be that We take a inhale, exhale, deep breath, and then we scan ourselves. And we can start at our toes, and then our ankles, and then our shins, our legs, our thighs, our stomach, our arms, our fingers, our chest, our head. Like, we want to stay in that moment. I want to be in this moment. I don't want to run from what I'm actually witnessing and seeing. And I want to stay calm about it so that I can think and act logically and not irrationally like my partner is doing. Another technique that we can also try is a breathing exercise. And these are all techniques that I do myself, which is why I'm encouraging you guys to try them as well. So, a breathing exercise. So, in this breathing exercise, we're going to inhale at a count of 4. We'll pause, and then we'll exhale at a count of 4. And this is going to this is going to lower our raised anxiety and keep us in a calm state of mind so that we are aware of our surroundings and what's happening and what's going on, so that we can, again, think logically on how to move forward in that unhealthy environment. Another technique that we can try is we can, and I love to start it with the inhale, sigh, or deep breath, exhale. You can remind yourself, and you don't have to, you can say it out loud or say it in your mind. You know, I am present. I am here. I am present. I am here. Again, we want to stay in that moment, even though it's causing anxiety and fear and uncertainty. We want to stay in that moment so that we can figure out, how do I safely remove myself from this unhealthy environment, from this unhealthy person, you know, how do I safely do that? We don't want to be anxious and scared and afraid, because honestly, that is exactly what they want us to be. They want that power and control over us. They want to see us squirming like a fish out of water, and we don't want to give them that. We want to stay in our right mind. Let them look crazy, let them look unsettled. We're not going to be unsettled. We're going to stay in our right mind. Now, if this person happens to enhance, become more aggressive, become more violent, then 911, call someone so that you can stay safe. Another, and this is our last technique. There are many of techniques to look up, but these are the ones that I use. So another thing we can do is we can find 5 things to focus on to keep us present in this fight or flight mode. We can focus on, okay, the moon is right there. Maybe it's dark. The moon, stars, the trees. There's a light signal right there. There's a stop sign if you're outdoors. If you're indoors, the lamp, the couch, the chair, my shoes, my phone. Keep up with your phone, you know, but you want to focus on things that keep you aware and keep you present, that keep you out of anxiety. And I'm going to share this last thing with you guys. I remember this person was an ex-mate. They used to start arguments with me while I was out on the road. I'm a truck driver. I drive third shift, and they would, start an argument with me, and I would avoid it. I wouldn't get, too engaged, and then they would keep gaslighting me until eventually I did respond. I would lash out, and then after I lashed out, they would stay calm, and now I'm all fritzy and, oh my God, I can't believe I just lashed out. And I remember this one argument, confrontation, reactive abuse is what it's called, that I had encountered. And I lashed out, and then after we hung up, I started feeling dizzy and lightheaded while I was driving. And I'm like, oh my God, Lord, keep me present in this moment. Keep me here in this moment. I have to make it home safely in this moment. And we want to avoid situations like that. We want to avoid people who keep us in that state of mind, which is why I'm creating this awareness about it. Again, if you want to learn more about these techniques, about the different tactics that abusers, manipulators, toxic, unhealthy people use, men and women, grab a copy of my book, My Song, A Healing Journey, where there is more detailed information in this book for you guys. Make sure you like me on all of my social medias. Make sure you share me. Sharing is caring, okay? And when we care about people, we share things that will help them. If no one told you they love you today, I love you.